So welcome, Sunsara Taylor, my co-host, to the third season of our show, the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show.
Andy, I'm really glad to be with you here in studio. I want to say, I know you said before, but welcome to everybody tuning in for our third season, and we got to make this our best and most impactful one. So I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, and I said in closing out the opening segment that you were going to be doing some new and important things as part of a lot of people doing new things to actually bring forward a revolutionary people. So why don't you give people a sense of what it is that you're going to be doing and how it's going to contribute to this?
Yeah. So this week, we've made public, I have initiated together with others what we are determined to make and what really must become a society-shaking struggle in this country to rouse thousands and tens of thousands and actually millions of people in the streets and the arts and many different spheres to defeat this massive assault, violent assault on women's fundamental right to abortion, which really is at the heart of whether women are going to be full human beings with control over their bodies, their lives, their destinies, or enslaved by a patriarchal fascist state. And so we just launched a couple days ago, and we're aiming to bring forward the kind of struggle in this country that really rocks the rulers back on their heels. Mm-hmm. The kind of thing on the scale that we saw in the beautiful rising against the police murder of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd, making clear to every institution in this country, including the Supreme Court, that they cannot get away with stealing this right of women and slamming them backwards in this way. And so we've just begun, but this is a major undertaking, and it will definitely be a big part of what we're doing in this coming year.
Okay, well, I think you are the person to do this, and a whole long history in this. But what is going to be different about your role in the show? Because this sounds like, and it will be, just an enormous undertaking.
Yeah. So I'm going to be on the road a lot of the time. We're going to DC soon. I'll tell more about that later. And I'll be reporting on this in the field, on the front lines. We'll be doing dispatches of this struggle. I'll be providing analysis. I'm sure a lot of polemic, a lot of leadership for people who want to understand what's at stake and how to wage this fight. And this, the RNL Revolution Nothing Less show, is going to be a must watch, both for everybody who wants revolution, but also for people who want to understand what is at stake and how to fight to win this, to defeat this assault on women. So this is going to be a big part of our season. Yeah,
I think this is going to be a real big part of the show. I mean, first off, the battle itself and the struggle around the right to abortion, the way you just put it forward, but also the idea that we're going to be out there organizing people to fight the power and transform the people for revolution. And these dispatches will be a key part of what we do on the show. And then we'll also be making analysis of how this fits into the overall movement to bring forward a revolutionary people. So why don't we, though, give a little more sense of what the vision and the plan is for this initiative?
So I think the best way to do that, actually, is we have a short film of the statement launching this movement that's been recorded by our team here at the RNL show, by Chantel, who's a member of the RevComs here in Los Angeles, and also part of the core group that's initiating this struggle together with me. And she reads our statement, our call to action, which has now been signed by a number of very notable, prominent figures in different realms. Merle Hoffman, an abortion provider, longtime struggler, fighter on this front. Gloria Steinem, the well-known feminist. Dr. Cornel West. Just a host of
V,
formerly known as Eve Ensler, the poet and playwright, and Frances Fisher. You got to go to the website, riseup4forabortionrights.org, and see the whole list. Add your name and spread it. But why don't we play this video of Chantel and let our viewers see it directly and hear this?
Great.
We refuse to let the U.S. Supreme Court deny women's humanity and decimate their rights. We call on everyone to join us in fighting for abortion on demand and without apology. Now is the time for everyone who believes that women and girls are full human beings, not incubators, to act to prevent a great horror. The Supreme Court stands poised to gut and very possibly overturn the landmark 1973 Roe v. Wade decision that established the right of women to abortion. A decision is expected by late spring. This comes on top of hundreds of restrictions that effectively deny this essential right to huge numbers of women already. This could trigger more than 20 states to immediately ban or severely restrict abortion. The attack on abortion rights is part of a patriarchal Christian fascist program that takes aim at contraception as well as LGBTQ rights. Denying the right to abortion hits poor women, and especially Black and other women of color, with vicious consequence, tightening the chains of both white supremacy and the subjugation of women. Denying the right to abortion forces women to bear children against their will. This does grotesque physical, emotional, societal, and psychic violence to women by reducing them to baby-making machines. Compelling women to carry unwanted and or dangerous pregnancies hijacks their bodies, their safety, their lives, their sexual autonomy, their aspirations and accomplishments, and their lifelong relations in the service of patriarchal domination. Forced motherhood is female enslavement. When women are not free, no one is free. Yet, all too many pro-choice leaders and Democratic politicians preach a realism of accepting the court's gutting of abortion rights. They tell us to dig in for the long haul of electoral process or to focus on helping women induce their own abortions. Whatever their intent, this amounts to capitulating in advance to the enslavement of women and an overall nightmare for humanity. The subjugation of half of society must not be accommodated, excused, downplayed, or surrendered to. It must be stopped. If we leave this to Congress, the courts, and state legislatures and do not fill the streets with people determined to stop this, then there is virtually no hope for stopping this assault. But if we in our multitudes stand up in uncompromising defiance, then there is a possibility, not a certainty, but a real possibility that we could beat back this assault and begin to change the whole political dynamic in this country. Our only way forward and our best way forward is to resist. To step outside confines of official politics and fill the streets with our fury. Growing in numbers in cities and small towns, uniting all who can be united, and coming back stronger and continuing sustained, non-violent mass protest. Shaking all of society from the streets to the arts and sciences with our determination. Drawing inspiration from the mighty outpouring of women and others around the world against patriarchal degradation. Changing the whole political atmosphere throughout society and what woman haters from the Supreme Court to the state houses to the streets feel they can get away with. Rising up with courage and conviction to defeat this assault while bringing closer a future where women and all people are free. On January 22nd, the anniversary of Roe v. Wade, we begin. In the face of triumphalist, patriarchal marches for life, we will announce to the world that a force is gathering to defeat this through massive, relentless, non-violent action of people of all genders. Gather in D.C. January 22nd at noon in front of the Supreme Court. Join us. On March 8th, International Women's Day, we come back with creativity in growing numbers in small towns and the big cities, filling the streets with serious determination and rebellious joy. We will puncture the stifling atmosphere of capitulation to a great injustice and compel all of society to take notice, inspiring more people to join us. We will start organizing now. From there, we rally more people in fury and moral clarity, aiming to bring society to a halt and force our demand that women not be slammed backwards, to be reckoned with and acted upon by every institution in society. Sign this statement. Spread it everywhere. Donate generously. And use this statement to organize growing networks across this country of people from different backgrounds and genders, creeds and political outlooks, united in our unwavering refusal to see women enslaved. If you care about the half of humanity that is born female, if you remember the dark days of back alley deaths and foreclosed lives, if you are among the 1 in 4 women whose hopes and dreams or even survival has hinged on access to abortion, if you refuse to inherit or pass on a world that is hurtling backwards, now is the time to hold nothing back. Now is the time to rouse thousands and soon millions in struggle so that we can look every woman and girl in the eye with the promise in word and deed that they will have a future as full human beings. Now is the time to stand up together as if our lives depend on it. For in fact, they do.
This is a very moving statement and really drawing very sharply the stakes of this 2 futures, the future depending on this for half of humanity. It's a big deal. But I'd like to see if you could just go a little bit further, and you said some of this earlier, about how this is fitting into building the movement for an actual revolution. Part of the strategy, a key part of the strategy for revolution that's actually in Something Terrible or Something Truly Emancipating, this new piece that we've been discussing for Bob Avakian, is the revolutionary strategy of fighting the power and transforming the people, principally the thinking of people, so that they see things differently. They see both the nature of the problem, but also the actual solution, and both fighting the power and transforming the people for revolution. And so how do you see this initiative that you are part of initiating and that you are a part of while coming to it from the perspective of organizing for an actual revolution?
I think this is an extremely important question, and I want to speak directly to the question of fighting the power and transforming the people for revolution. But first, I think it's important to just step back. The revolution that we're part of, you and me and the Revolution Nothing Less show, the revolution that Bob Avakian is leading, is a revolution to break all the chains, all of the chains. And this includes breaking all the chains that bind women. The Constitution he has written for the new socialist republic, for a new society after this rotten system of imperialism that has patriarchy woven into it has been brought down and overthrown. The society that he has written a constitution for, that we will establish, is one that not only guarantees the most fundamental rights of women to abortion, birth control, and other basic rights, but would give backing from the state, from the culture, through the education system, in many different ways to the struggle of women and others to go and dig up all the remaining forms of oppression, all the modes of thinking that treat women as lesser than men, as objects of sexual plunder or punching bags, all the things in the culture, just to continue to not let this revolution settle in, but go all the way to full liberation and emancipation. And this is across the board on every form of oppression. So it's from this perspective that me, other RevComs who will be involved in this struggle are coming at this fight. We are going to be uniting very broadly with people who don't share our revolutionary views, some people who are really opposed to the communist revolution, but who oppose also the assault on abortion rights. We're going to be fighting to forge the broadest possible unity, and we're sincere about that in this struggle. But we're also not just coming at this from the perspective of stopping an incredible horror and crime against humanity, which is what the enslavement of women, the stripping away of abortion rights would mean. We are coming at this with an understanding that it is possible to actually achieve real emancipation, real liberation. And it's from that perspective and lifting people's sights to that, that we are going to be, again, uniting broadly, but contending. We, the RevComs, myself and others, are going to be contributing to what'll be anchored here at the Revolution Nothing Less show as well, a society-wide debate over reform or revolution that we're trying to rip open. And really contending that if you want to end the oppression of women, you want a world where you're not having to fight for this right almost 50 years after it was established, the basic right to abortion, where that doesn't have to be fought for again. And we go way beyond this. You need a revolution, nothing less than that. So in this struggle, and that's part of what gets opened up to come back to fight the power and transform the thinking of people for revolution. When people lift their heads and they reject and they act against this vicious assault, you start to change the atmosphere in society, what people are thinking about, the questions they're entertaining. And we're going to be contending in that context, fighting to organize forces for revolution as we wage this fight together with others.
In the statement that Chantel read, it talks about the first action out of the gates is with the anniversary of the Supreme Court decision that legalized abortion, Roe v. Wade. It's coming up in just 10 days or so from now. So how can people get connected with this new initiative around that date?
So this battle, this new political battle and fight that we're launching is going to have its first manifestation in public in front of the Supreme Court on January 22nd, on the anniversary of Roe versus Wade at noon in front of the Supreme Court in Washington, D.C. And we want people to come and join us there. From wherever you are that can get there, come and be there, spread the word, or organize an event where you are. We want people to go to the website, riseup4abortionrights.org. You can read the statement that Chantel read, you can sign your name to it, and you can sign up to be an organizer. And we need everybody. There's a role for everybody in this fight. January 22nd, we launch this, and start planning now for March 8th. Protests, marches, nationwide in cities, small towns, everywhere. This is International Women's Day, and this year it needs to be marked by the fury of women unleashed as a mighty force for revolution and as a mighty force even more broadly to say, hell no, there will be no going back and no surrender. Abortion on demand and without apology.